Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Fluent Flow. I'm Jake, your resident language nerd who still gets prepositions mixed up sometimes.
And I'm Nina, your grammar-loving co-host who's always here to keep Jake honest. Today, we're talking about simple prepositions, those tiny words like in, on, at, to, and for that somehow trip up even advanced learners.
They seem so basic, right? But prepositions are the sneaky ninjas of English. Get them wrong, and suddenly you're in the bus instead of on the bus, which might make people think you're hiding under the seats.
You're at home instead of in home, unless you actually live inside your walls. So, Jake, let's start with the basics. What even is a preposition?
Prepositions are little words that show relationships between other words, usually about place, time, or direction. Think of them as the glue that tells us where things are, when things happen, or how things connect. Like, the cat is under the table. Under is the preposition. It tells you where the cat is in relation to the table.
Okay, simple enough. But why do so many people mix them up? I hear in the car, on the car. What's the deal?
Great question. A lot of it comes down to how English speakers picture space and movement. For example, you're in a car because it's like a container, you're enclosed. But you're on a bus or on a train because they're big, open, shared spaces like platforms. The logic isn't always obvious, which is why real examples help.
So, we're diving deep into the everyday prepositions people need most. Let's kick off with in, on, and at. Can you break down when to use each one for places?
Absolutely. Picture this. In is for unclosed spaces or areas, in a room, in a city, in a country. Like, I live in Paris. On is for surfaces or things you can stand or sit on the table, on the floor, on a bus. And at is for specific points or locations, at the door, at the station, at home.
That makes sense. But what about on the bus versus in the car? People always ask about vehicles.
Love this one. Think of in as being for smaller, unclosed vehicles, cars, taxis, even a helicopter. On is for larger vehicles or public transport, buses, trains, planes, ships. Imagine on like being part of a group or a journey, while in is more private.
So, I'd say I'm on the plane, but I'm in the taxi.
Exactly. Unless you're flying the plane solo then. Call me because that's impressive. At is for specific locations or events, not the general area. Like, I'm at school, she's at the party, meet me at the corner. If you're talking about a point or event, at is your go-to.
Okay, quick quiz for our listeners. If you're waiting for a friend outside a coffee shop, are you at the coffee shop, in the coffee shop, or on the coffee shop? Jake?
If you're outside, you're at the coffee shop, you're at the location, but not inside. If you're sipping your latte inside, you're in the coffee shop. And if you're on the coffee shop, well, maybe you're Spider-Man?
Huh. I'll take on the coffee shop for $200, please, Alex. Let's talk about in, on, and at for time now. How do they work there?
Sure thing. In is for longer periods, months, years, seasons. On is for days and dates. At is for exact times. So, in July, in 2024, in winter, on Monday, on May 10th, at 3 p.m., at midnight.
So, if I have a meeting at 9 a.m. on Friday in June, I'm using all three? Thanks. Now, what about to and from? I feel like those are the GPS of English.
Nice analogy. To shows direction or movement towards something. I'm going to the store. From is the opposite. It shows where you're coming from. I'm coming from work.
So, I'm walking from my house to the park. Simple. But what about into and onto? Are they just fancier versions?
Great catch. Into and onto add a sense of movement with entry. Into is for moving inside something. She walked into the room. Onto is for moving onto a surface. The cat jumped onto the table.
So, if I drop my phone, it falls onto the floor. But if I walk through the door, I go into the room.
Exactly. And just to make things fun, we don't always use them when we speak casually. Like, I got in the car, instead of into the car. But onto is a bit more formal and less common.
Got it. I feel like prepositions are like secret codes for describing movement and place. So, let's throw in by, with, and about. I always hear people get these mixed up.
By is often about proximity or the doer of an action. With means together or using something. About is for topics. For example, I'm sitting by the window, or the book was written by Nina. With is, I'm eating with a fork, or I'm with Jake. And about is, we're talking about prepositions.
Here's a quick challenge for our listeners. I went to the park, my friend bike. Fill in the blanks. Jake?
I went to the park with my friend by bike. With for the person, by for the mode of transport.
Love it. So, by bus, by train, by car, but on foot if you're walking, right?
Exactly. We say, I go to work by car, but I go to school on foot. English loves its exceptions.
Oh, English. You beautiful, confusing language. What about for and since? Time prepositions always trip people up.
For is for duration, how long something happens. Since is for the starting point, when it began. For example, I've lived here for 5 years, meaning the length of time. I've lived here since 2019, meaning from that year until now.
So, for equal duration, since equal starting point. I think of for as the ruler and since as the calendar.
That's a great way to picture it. And remember, since usually goes with the present perfect tense. I have worked here since March.
Let's make things interesting. What about over, under, above, and below? Spatial prepositions can be super confusing.
Definitely, over and under are about direct vertical relationships. Over is on top or covering, the lamp is over the table. Under is beneath, the cat is under the table. Above and below also describe vertical position, but not necessarily touching. Above means higher but not touching. The clock is above the door. Below is lower but not touching. The basement is below the ground floor.
So, the painting is above the sofa, but the blanket is over the sofa. Because the blanket touches, the painting doesn't.
Nailed it. And under for things beneath and maybe touching, like the shoes are under the bed.
I love it. Can we talk about between and among? I see these swapped all the time.
Sure, between is for two things or people. Among is for more than two, usually in a group. For example, the ball is between the shoes, but the ball is among the toys.
So, between Jake and Nina, but among the hosts of this podcast, if we had more hosts.
Exactly. But don't worry, I like our duo just fine.
Thanks. Now, through versus across. What's the difference?
Through is about moving inside something from one side to the other. I walked through the tunnel. Across is moving from one side to another, usually on a surface. I walked across the street.
So, I'd go through the forest, but across the field.
Perfect. And if you see someone walking through the field, maybe the grass is really tall.
They're lost. Now, can you explain around, along, and past?
Around is for moving in a circle or surrounding something. We walked around the park. Along is moving next to something. We walked along the river. Past is going by something. We walked past the bakery.
So, if I'm exercising, I might run around the track, along the road, and past my favorite coffee shop.
And probably stop at the coffee shop for a treat.
Naturally. Now, let's jump to an audience question. This one comes from Lucia in Brazil. She asks, why do we say on TV, but in a movie?
Great question, Lucia. It's about how we imagine the medium. On TV is like a channel or platform, something broadcasted. In a movie is about being inside the story or the world of the film. So, I saw her on TV means she appeared on the television screen. But she acted in a movie means she was part of that movie.
That's such a weird but cool distinction. English is all about the mental image. Okay, let's have some fun with language fails. Have you ever had a preposition disaster, Jake?
Oh yes. When I first visited Germany, I tried to say, I'm at the station, but I used the wrong preposition and ended up saying something closer to I'm on the station, which had my friends picturing me climbing on the roof.
I once told a friend I was in the bus stop instead of at the bus stop. She texted back, are you inside the bench?
Prepositions, making us all look silly since forever.
All right, let's wrap up with some rapid-fire tips. Jake, what's your #1 preposition hack?
Use real-life images. Picture where you are, inside, on top, next to, between, imagine it, and the preposition often makes sense.
Mine is to memorize common phrases, not just the rules. At home, on the phone, in the car, treat them like vocabulary.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Most native speakers will understand you, even if you say on the car instead of in the car. Just keep practicing.
Plus, notice how people use prepositions in movies, podcasts, and conversations. The more you hear them, the more natural they'll feel.
That's a wrap for today's episode. If you enjoyed this, hit follow, share it with a friend, or subscribe so you never miss an episode.
And if you have a preposition fail or a burning question, send it in. We love hearing from you.
Thanks for joining us on The Fluent Flow. See you next time, and remember, you're always in good company here.